entertained?
I am very entertained. Not only does Ridley Scott craft us a sequel that's great, he brings us back to a world, to a type of film, Swords and Sandals, that feel alive again in this state of Hollywood. After his home is conquered by the tyrannical emperors who now lead Rome, Lucius is forced to enter the Colosseum and must look to his past to find strength to return the glory of Rome to its people. I am a massive fan of Gladiator. It is one of the best films ever made. Yes, I might be basic for that, but I don't care, because it's just a great film. It's not just great because it has amazing action sequences, which it does have, but it was because of the beautiful direction from Ridley Scott, giving us a world that feels larger than life, but also lived in. And you have Russell Crowe giving an incredible performance as the main lead. So when I heard there was a sequel, really hesitant, because for majority of people think Ridley Scott has kind of missed a lot in the sense of quality. I disagree with a lot of those people, but that's just me. I'm not saying all of his films are perfect. But this one has to be great. This one just simply had to be great. If you're going to go back into this world, you need to create something that has an urgency, has a necessity to bring this world back to the silver screen. Was there enough reason to justify this story? Yes. Yeah, baby! Here's the thing about Gladiator 2. It's not reinventing the wheel. The story is somewhat similar to the first film. It's not a carbon copy, but you can see some of the same story beats following along the same kind of pattern the first one had. It's the classic tale of a man out for vengeance while others are in search for power. That guy, who we'll get into later. But as we know, a familiar plot can work wonders when it is executed right. And Ridley Scott does that to basic near perfection with this story. Sure, there's some iffy CGI, yes, these monkeys. But aside from that, this feels like one of Ridley's most immersive films in years. It's not just an echo of Gladiator, it harkens back to a film like Ben-Hur. I'm not saying it's at the same quality, but it made me feel like I was watching something that was kind of connected to that movie. Bringing a sweeping panoramic vision of Rome that feels grander than life itself, especially in those jaw-dropping Colosseum sequences. Still, my favorite sequence in a Colosseum goes to Dune Part 2, but a close second, and maybe with a little bit more time, might bump up to number 1 for 2024. This has the Gladiator bloody moments you are looking for. It's even more bloody, it's bloodier than the first one, and I truly mean that. Yes, there's been some complaints about historical accuracy. Look, I'll go back to it. As long as it's executed right, and it doesn't pull me out of the film with some CGI water, CGI sharks, and a CGI Roman Colosseum, if it still works just enough, I'm gonna give it a pass, because that stuff goes hard. That just looks awesome. I'm turning my critic hat off for this moment. That you cannot deny. That just looks cool. Can we just take a moment and realize that is amazing? Okay, critic hat back on. The cinematography, stunning. Every shot feels meticulously crafted, like it's meant to speak for itself. Even the trailers here, some of these moments that I'm showing you, give you a sense of the glory that you're going to see when watching this 2.5-hour experience. And then there's Harry Gregson Williams' score. Sadly, Hans Zimmer did not come back for this. I'm assuming it's because of the Dune movies, which, hey, we'll give him a pass for that. But here, it's epic, intense, and loaded with emotion. It's not just music, it's a soundscape of violent rage, pulling you into the battles and the political chess game at the heart of Rome. I don't know why I doubted the composer. I just knew the moment I heard Hans wasn't coming back, I'm like, okay. I mean, I bet it's gonna be fine, but it's just not gonna be as good as the first. And I'm not saying it's better, but I cannot deny there are moments, and I really recommend this film in IMAX. The louder, the bigger screen, the better for this experience, because you actually feel the impact of every string, every instrument that is playing. It really does enhance the experience. But speaking of politics, they hit hard here too. The plot carries that familiar vein from the first film, a dream that was once Rome, a place of true democracy, Connie Nielsen's return is pivotal for this arc. She anchors this story, grounding it in the original spirit without just rehashing it. And then there are the twin emperors, played to reckless perfection by Joseph Quinn and Fred Heschinger. Watching them perform is essentially seeing this scenario of give a kid unlimited power and see what happens. That's these two. They are carelessly brutal and totally enthralling as they flaunt their disregard for peace. They just want war. They want blood, hence why they love the Gladiator games. We have somebody that wants to dip their toes closer and closer to the heart of Rome. Denzel Washington's Macronus is the man with the plan, the schemer who plays his hand just close enough to his chest to keep everyone on their toes. He shines as a power-hungry strategist. Within his performance, you can tell he's just having a great time. He is having a ball with every line that he is delivering. He chews up the scenery. Every time he adjusts his robes or fidgets with his rings, you can see this man, he's desperate for authority and respect. But really what makes this character even more interesting is something I can't get into because it is a pretty big spoiler in what is his end game? What is his true motive for positioning himself and Lucius in this incline to power? Now let's talk about the standouts, the duo, Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal. The film's opening sets the stage for their characters who have lived through the brutal cost of war. With Lucius, he is on a hunt for blood, blood for blood, vengeance, and he's trying to get the head of Pedro Pascal's the general. There is a lot more to him than what's on the surface. He's compelling and surprisingly nuanced. Both performances are raw, physical, and utterly committed. Paul Mescal's range is out of this world. With his eyes, he gives us a man who is filled with pain, loss, and a purpose without even speaking a word in certain scenes. The pacing is on point, with every conversation bleeding seamlessly into the next epic gladiator showdown. Ridley masterfully layers the politics over the plot while giving us a story about a man's rise and a cautionary tale of power's corruptibility. Unlike some films that suffer from scattered, forgettable subplots, every arc here is engaging. There's not a single beat that I would skip. You know when you watch a movie and you're like, okay, I'll probably buy this or I'll rent it at some point. Immediately you know what scenes you're probably gonna skip. Yeah, not for me. I will watch every moment in this film. Sure, this movie has some familiar themes from the original, but for me it's similar to how I felt about The Force Awakens. It captures the spirit of the original while using modern storytelling and tech to elevate it for the next generation. If The Force Awakens was for 2015's generation, Gladiator 2 is today's definitive swords and sandals epic. Overall, Gladiator 2 is going to be high on my list for 2024. It's a movie that gives us powerhouse performances from Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, Connie Nielsen, Denzel Washington, Joseph Quinn, the list can go on. Ridley Scott transports us back to an epic Rome, delivering not just thrilling action, but rich storytelling that grips you till the end. So was I entertained? Yes. I give this movie, as a critic, a solid 9 out of 10. I understand there are some issues with the CGI. I understand that this movie can sometimes be in the shadow of the first film, but that's where my second score kicks in. I gotta get ready for it. I give this movie, as a Gladiator fan and as a person who left this theater with tears in their eyes, a solid 10 out of 10. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this review. It really means a lot. God, this is really hurting my head, but please don't forget to like and subscribe, but most importantly, do not forget to be blessed.